Welcome to Barnstable Today. I'm Nick Cortez. School Superintendent Dr. Patricia Grenier last night made her first official fiscal year 2012 budget presentation to the school committee. Despite the loss of federal stimulus funding and the mandate that the savings account cannot be used to balance the budget, Dr. Grenier's proposal does not call for any cuts to programs, services, or staff. We'll show you the specifics in just a moment, but first, let's take a look at Dr. Grenier's opening remarks to the school committee. Here, she acknowledges some of the school district's many accomplishments despite the down economy, and she recaps the many tough choices made over the past few years that have given the district some financial breathing room.
During one of the most challenging economic times in the history of our country, and therefore our state and our district, we have been able to implement full-day kindergarten, actualize significant academic achievement at Barnstable Intermediate School, celebrate the fact that 95 seniors in our high school graduating class received the Adams Scholarship, which provides them the opportunity to attend any state college or university at no cost for tuition. We have national merit finalists, 16 advanced placement courses, which is the highest number on the Cape. The Advanced Placement International Diploma is viable for any student who desires to apply at that level, and we have Advanced Placement Scholar Awards routinely and annually. And all of these achievements are done in this time of economic hardship. It is important to note that during this time, in the past 4 years, we have closed Marston's Mills Elementary School, Cotuit Elementary, Osterville Elementary, Osterville Bay Elementary. We closed the grade 5 school 7 years ago. We moved Marston's Mills East to Horace Mann Charter Public School to the Hyannis East location. We reconfigured our grades, moved 4th grade to the 4-5 building now, the 8th grade to the high school. We created an intermediate school. We redistricted the elementary level, and we eliminated 2 key central office administrative positions, as well as many support staff that actually filled all of those schools that are closed. What we have done is to recreate Barnstable Public Schools in a way that has allowed us to experience the kind of success that I talked about. The focus now is how do we maintain our work for the future.
Next, Dr. Grenier outlined some of the basics of her budget proposal, which would maintain current service levels, plus retain a few additional positions that were funded with the federal stimulus dollars that are no longer available.
We call this budget a minimal needs budget, and it's level service with a twist. And the twist is our creation of a few positions with ARA funding. ARA funding was federal funding that was received by all school systems in the state for 2 years. And it is exhausted at the end of this year, so there will be no more ARA funding. 90% of our funding went to considerations that were one-time costs or costs that would not experience a funding cliff. We have some positions that are critical to us that were funded under ARA that I am proposing remain funded during this budget presentation. Full-day kindergarten assistance at Hyannis West, adjustment and prevention support at BIS, and special education facilitation at elementary level. I believe it is critical that we have full-day kindergarten assistance at Hyannis West. We discovered within the first 2 weeks of school last year that we have an entire classroom of kindergartners at Hyannis West that had not received any preschool intervention. That is a huge anomaly. Over 20-something students not having any preschool experience. We need the kindergarten assistance for that population of student. The adjustment and prevention support at BIS has contributed significantly to the well-maintained, effective, calm, peaceful atmosphere in that school, and the degree of personal connection that Karen Stoling and staff have formed with 6th and 7th grade students, and that's critical for this age group to feel that they are the only person in that building. And then the complexity of our special education service delivery and the number of meetings, the number of personal contact we're trying to provide to parents in need of support is critical in maintaining this position.
School budgets depend in part on how much funding will come from the state, which is rarely known before local budgets must be certified. In this next series of clips, Dr. Grenier reveals her total budget request, the assumptions about state funding used to develop that request, and her conclusions about what her proposal will accomplish for the school district.
We have conservatively determined our budget based on a 10% reduction in state aid. If that, in the governor's budget, and seldom is the governor's budget the final budget that our state legislature passes, should the governor's budget or some semblance close to that pass, we will receive some additional revenue, and it will allow us to decrease the amount of school choice revenue that we commit to this budget or school transportation fees that we commit, and allow us to save that into fiscal year 13. Also, we've experienced a modest decrease in the assessment for our vocational school, which has allowed us to actualize about $63,000 additional revenue than we expected when Mark Milne gave his first presentation on the state of the fiscal climate to the town council about 2 months ago. Our budget request is $61,950,000. As I stated earlier, it's a 2.99% increase. There are increases in contractual agreements, in utility costs, in health care, and in maintaining the positions lost that would have been lost with our funding. At the same time, one more year we are experiencing a decrease in our out-of-district tuition accounts, which helps us in this balancing of the budget. And while you saw increases in utilities on one side, I'm reflecting decreases in utilities. So it depends whether you're talking about electric, oil, and so these sort of wash each other. I believe that what I've placed before you is a budget that will allow us to maintain the level of, quite frankly, success that I demonstrated early on in the presentation. But given the restraint that we have and the constraints that we have, I think this is a fair budget proposal. It allows the committee to have both a defensible presentation to the town council and to the community, but also maintain some resources, the savings account, for example, for fiscal 13, because I don't think we're through the economic crisis completely.
As you just heard, the FY 2012 school budget was developed with the assumption that the state would reduce Chapter 70 or school aid by 10%. This figure was put in place before the governor released his budget proposal, which, if accepted, would increase, not decrease, Chapter 70 aid. Naturally, Dr. Grenier was questioned on why the budgetary assumptions weren't changed to reflect that bit of good news.
The reason I did not change, or I shouldn't say I, I'm sorry, the reason we did not change the budget assumption and left the revenue at a 10% reduction was that's the most you'll experience. So while you're right, the budget may change, and hopefully it will, between now and June, it's only, I suspect, going to change for the positive, because I suspect we'll get something different, and then your reserves will increase for 13.
If you'd like to weigh in on the FY 2012 school budget, you can share your opinions with the school committee at its annual budget public hearing, which is scheduled for March 8th at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall hearing room. Now, let's take a look at this week's remaining meetings. Wednesday, February 9th, there's an amnesty hearing in the Town Hall hearing room at 6 p.m. At 7 p.m., the Old Kings Highway Historic District Commission meets in the West Barnstable Community Building on Route 149. Thursday, February 10th, Site Plan Review meets in the Town Hall hearing room at 9 a.m. At 3 p.m., the Board of Health meets in the Town Hall hearing room. Well, that's all for now. I'm Nick Cortez, and we'll see you next time on Barnstable Today.